Heatwave warnings and advisories were issued across much of the country on Monday as daytime temperatures soared past 30 degrees Celsius and the capital recorded its first tropical night of the season.
월요일인 어제 낮 기온이 30도 이상 오르고 전날 밤 서울에는 올해 첫 열대야가 발생함에 따라 기상청은 이날 전국 대부분 지역에 폭염 경보와 주의보를 발령했습니다. Right, so first of all, should we look at the definitions of, heat wave advisories and heat wave warnings?
Yes. I mean, the main thing to think of is an advisory is a little less strong than a warning.
Yes.
So warning is going to be, this is really bad. And advisory is, this is bad, but it could be worse.
Exactly.
So when we get a heat wave advisory, that's when we have the highest temperature expected to be remaining at 33 degrees or above for 2 or more days. The warning is 35 degrees or more. So there's a difference in temperature between the advisory and the warning.
In Korean, we use the word 체감 온도, so it's like the real feel.
Yes.
And the highest 체감 온도, if it's 33 degrees for 2 days or longer, then it's a heat wave advisory. If it's 35 degrees for 2 days or longer, then it's a heat wave warning.
Yes. And so here in Seoul, we had an advisory. Elsewhere, there were warnings.
그렇군요. 네, 서울에서는 이 폭염주의보가 또 많은 지역에서는 폭염 경보가 어제 내려졌습니다. 이렇게 이틀 연속 체감 기온 최고 온도가 33도 또는 35도까지 치솟았기 때문인데요. 밤에도 또 더웠습니다. 그죠?
Well, yes, we had our first tropical night. The capital's low was 25.6 degrees. The good news is, though, it's later than last year. So this is the good thing. The first tropical night we had last year was June 21st. And in fact, the first heatwave advisory we had in Seoul last year came 11 days before this one. So we're actually starting the advisories and the tropical nights a little later than last year.
Well, that's, I guess, the silver lining to the whole heat wave.
However, there is more bad news.
Oh, no.
Because temperatures are expected to be higher than the 30-year average for the time being. So it may have started later, but it's going to be hotter.
그래요. 서울에서는 또 열대야가 관측이 됐었고 다른 지역에도 이제 열대야 소식이 있습니다만 보통 우리가 열대야라고 하면은요 밤 기온이 이제 25도 이상일 때를 얘기하죠. 25도도 상당히 밤에는 견디기 힘듭니다. 많은 분들이 아마 이제 선풍기나 에어컨을 틀고 좀 더위를 이기려고 하지 않으셨을까 싶은데요. Now this heat wave, loads of different expressions to do with, what the government issues, what the weather agency issues. And one of those is a warning, as you said earlier on, and another one is an advisory.
Yes.
And in Korea, we always use the two, with the advisory being the weaker one, right?
Absolutely, and I think in English too, you'll always find it. The advisory is, what you should do, what you can do in this situation, whereas the warning is, don't do this or do this.
Right.
It's more of a command than a piece of advice.
그래요. 자, 경보, warning, 주의보, advisory. 그리고 그런 걸 발령할 때는 issue라는 동사를 쓰죠. Different countries have different warning systems.
Absolutely.
So some countries have colors and some have different numbers and, it really depends on the country.
Yeah, the one thing I like, and I know people sometimes get bothered by it, is we have our emergency alerts.
Yes.
So whenever something happens, whether it be big or small, at least I know what's going on.
But I'm just curious to know, do you get yours in English or is it in Korean?
I get mine in Korean, but I think they are available in English either through a translated method or maybe directly. But Korean's fine for me.
Okay, yeah, because I get all of mine in Korean, even though my setting is in English on my phone. So I was just actually curious to know whether, non-Korean speakers would be able to read this, but I guess they'll have to ask a friend, what's this, and
But the good thing is about these kind of warnings and advisories is often the language used is very similar or the same.
Yes.
Which means if you're a language learner, for example, if you're in the US or the UK or somewhere else, you'll see the same format maybe, or the same syntax is the same grammar used and the same vocabulary, which means as long as you learn a few extra words, you can actually easily understand warnings when they come in.
That's right. Okay, so just to clarify, what do you call these things that you get on your phone?
I call them emergency alerts.
Emergency alert. 네. 이 안내 문자 같은 거를 emergency alert라고 표현을 하면은 무난할 것 같아요. 네. 자, 그다음에 soar past something.
Well, if something soars, it's flying high in the sky. So if we soar past something, we're going far above it. In this case, we're talking about temperatures with daytime temperatures soaring past 30 degrees, which meant they went much higher than 30 degrees.
Birds, especially eagles and hawks, they soar high in the sky and they fly.
Exactly.
But here we're looking at temperatures soaring high.
Yeah, and we often use that term. Temperatures drop, but temperatures also soar. They can plunge and they can rise.
They can. soar, soar. 그래서 어디를 훌쩍 넘다 아니면은 몇 도씨를 훌쩍 넘다. soar past something. Here's the headline again. Heatwave warnings and advisories were issued across much of the country on Monday as daytime temperatures soared past 30 degrees Celsius, and the capital recorded its first tropical night of the season. Here's our next headline.